Hello and welcome to the Film Pulse podcast. This is episode number 290. My name's Adam Patterson. With me today, we got Kevin Rakestraw. How are you, Kevin?
I am well.
All right. Good to hear. This week on the show, we'll be talking about Matthew Porterfield's Solar's Point, along with some of what we've been watching on the watch list, including my thoughts on Deadpool 2, and previewing some new releases in theaters, VOD, and Blu-ray. Little housekeeping. Start the show. No Ryan watches a movie this week. Ryan took a trip to the mountains. So he's
taking a trip to the mountains to find himself.
Let's hope he does. Let's hope he does.
I hope it's a spiritual journey.
He comes back an entirely new man.
I can only imagine.
That dude needs to get away. I think he's been under a lot of stress, I think.
I think he needs to get away probably like every other month.
Yeah. Well, he needs to at least get out of the house every other month. I mean, that's just not healthy.
Maybe eat some vegetables. I don't know.
You know, it's funny. It really is interesting how your diet can play a role in just your overall behavior and your outlook and your sort of emotional
I just want to say, and I might be in bad taste because he's not here, but I just don't know the fact that he doesn't eat any like fruits or vegetables. I don't know how he's alive. Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that a lot of people have that similar diet though, where they just don't eat anything of nutritional value, and somehow they can maintain themselves.
I don't know how that works.
I would feel like crap every day.
Same.
I don't know. Anyway. So no Ryan watches a movie this week. We'll be back next week after he returns. And there is going to be a new Film Pulse Selects film premiering this week. It's called Cold in All the Sunshine. So be sure to check that out. If you're a patron on our Patreon, patreon.com/filmpulse, you already have access to it and you can watch the whole thing. This is a feature-length film. All of our patrons get movies at least a week in advance. So a little early access for you there if you're on the Patreon. If not, that's cool. You can check it out on Thursday when this comes out. Let's get into our review for this week. We're going to be talking about Matthew Porterfield's Solar's Point. I have a synopsis here. Keith, a small-time drug dealer under house arrest at the home of his father in Baltimore, re-enters a community scarred by unemployment, neglect, and deeply entrenched segregation. There, he pushes back against his surrounding limitations as he tries to find a way out of his own internal prison. Kevin, what say you about Solar's Point?
Ooh, good question. This is one of those movies wherein, through the duration of the film, watching the film, the actual experience of it, it was fine. Enjoyed myself. I didn't love it, didn't hate it. And then after that, kind of the aftermath of the experience of watching it is, again, it is fine. Not a whole lot to say. Wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but also wouldn't necessarily say that it's not worthwhile. But, you know, at the end of the day, if I did not see this movie in my lifetime, that would have been fine. It would have been okay. I don't think it really missed out.
Yeah, unfortunately, I sort of agree with you. I was really into it at the beginning. I'd say the first act, or even like up until the halfway point, I was really invested into this story. I was intrigued by the character of Keith, played by McCall Lombardi. I was really into this story of this man just trying to get his shit together after getting off of house arrest, doing a stint in prison, and just trying to get on his feet. So at first, I was really into this, but it just slowly started to lose me, and it wasn't really at the fault of the the film necessarily, or the director. It was just like uh I just wasn't it just
Yeah,
lost me for whatever
it
reason.
just
Like it didn't really go anywhere of any kind of substance.
yeah, I think it is. I think honestly, it's just kind of the narrative ran out of steam. He just really didn't. It wasn't really anywhere to go with it, and to have this at an hour and 42 minutes, it just and it's the kind of how it talks about in the synopsis, the community scarred by unemployment, neglect, and all that. I didn't really see them see him kind of touching on that.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
Keith, what Keith does is what he goes to like one place, asking if they have work, and then that's it.
Well, and
We
he
never
tries
really,
to he tries to take the HVAC classes, but he fucks that up because he missed the first one entirely, and then he's 45 minutes late to the second one, so they kick him out, which
yeah,
is completely understandable. And it's like, are we supposed to feel like, man, this guy just can't get a break? But I mean, he's doing it on himself. Like, this is
yeah,
his fault. It's not one of these sort of stories where, someone gets out of prison, they're trying to turn over a new leaf, and they just keep, getting pulled back into their former life. That is happening to a certain extent, but he's not really doing much to avoid that. Like, one of the
yeah,
first things he does, so he does this like odd job, and then he he really can't find any work, so he just immediately goes back to drug dealing. And then the various pitfalls that occur because of that. So it's like he's not really doing anything to straighten himself out.
yeah,
And he doesn't, Zazie Beetz is in this playing his ex-girlfriend Courtney, and it seems like he wants to reestablish a relationship with her, but he's really not putting forth any kind of effort to show her that he has changed or is worthy of rekindling
yeah.
this relationship.
No, not at all. I mean, he doesn't do any work really to try and make that happen. And then it does kind of shift towards the end where, and that's something that I was kind of wrestling with or kind of had some difficulty with is like you said, like, am I supposed to feel somewhat sympathetic to Keith's predicament? But some of the stuff that he does towards the end, I'm just like, I don't know. Like, if you want me to feel some sort of sympathy for this guy, like Zazie Beetz kind of points out when she's talking to his dad, like he's not a kid. Like what he's doing is really dangerous. Like just breaking into her house. Like what the fuck?
Yeah, it's stealing the dog. It's dangerous, and it is childish. Like he acts like a child. Like what he does with his father, played by Jim Belushi, by the way. Great
Just,
performance by Jim
I
Belushi.
and I want to point out that I wish because they kind of Belushi and Zazie Beetz is kind of like top billing here. And for much of this movie, they're just nowhere to be seen.
I
And it's
yeah,
really
I
disappointing.
and because both characters are very compelling, and they both do a really amazing job. I really wanted more, especially Zazie Beetz' character. I love her, and she was great in this, and I just wanted more of that character. Maybe even just more of an exploration of that relationship that I felt like we didn't get quite enough of that.
Yeah.
We learned that the two of them spent their whole lives together, but that's really it. Like, we don't really know much more than that.
Yeah, because I think that's what finally did it for me at the end there, where it's just like I can't really get behind this guy. I can't root for him.
And I think maybe that's why it started losing me, is that at the beginning I really did. Like, I really was rooting for him, and I really was hoping that he was going to straighten himself out. And it started losing me when I realized that this guy's not gonna, he's not gonna change. Like this isn't gonna go anywhere that I want it to go. Maybe that's part of it. But yeah, it's just unfortunate. I love I love the setting. Like it sort of brings me back to around where we grew up. And it's funny, like I didn't read a synopsis for this. I didn't know anything about it. Like I had no idea. And within the first like 5-10 minutes, I said to my wife, I was like, I think this takes place in Baltimore. Like this looks like Baltimore. It just has that vibe. And then like,
yeah, the old outskirts.
Yeah.
Dundalk.
And when he was in the store with the Utz chips and just the accents, the thing that's really did it for me, I was pretty sure. But then when he goes into that bar for the first time, and the when he talks to the bartender, is that his grandpa? Because I know that
yeah, I think it was.
Because I know the woman is his grandmother. I think, right?
Yeah.
But as soon as that guy opened his mouth, I was like, oh, there it is. This has to be be somewhere up there.
And that's one of the things with Porterfield's movies that I'm always intrigued by, or at least enjoy a little bit, regardless of like the quality of the film. It's just the fact that it's so close and it's familiar, and they kind of take place around areas where like my mom grew up and stuff, and to see, every kitchen have a crab pot, and that always helps.
Yeah,
because if this took place somewhere else, I would be, I'd be less inclined.
Yeah, no, I think that there is something to be said about that. I mean, we definitely grew up in South Central Pennsylvania, but the sort of the atmosphere of the area is I mean, it's pretty much the same. Like
a lot of the outskirts of Maryland, PA, and even Ohio, really, they all look exactly the same.
And they have the same type of people in them. They have the same type of bars. Like when he went to that one bar, that's sort of the trashy bar, I was just like, oh man, it's like the Glad Crab.
I was just gonna say the Glad Crab. It is exactly that.
It's definitely, it's in a way, it's a sort of a nostalgic movie for me. Just reminding me of the environment,
buying cigarettes at the bar,
the environment that that we were in back then. So yeah, that aspect, which is like a completely sort of inside bias that I will have with this movie.
Yeah, I think the one of the things that he kind of touches on, or the story kind of touches on, that it felt a little bit too little too late and a bit too blunt, was when he's playing spades and the guy's talking about trying to buy like his first car when he worked at Bethlehem Steel.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting because towns don't have that anymore, where you work at a factory, which is like the lifeblood of the area. And if someone knows you work at that factory, it opens up a lot of doors for you. Like, they will sell you a car because they know that you work at, the factory in the town.
Yeah.
Whereas Keith's situation, we don't have that anymore. That doesn't exist.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. They mentioned Bethlehem Steel a couple times in the film. And I think
because like everyone of a certain age in that neighborhood worked at that. Like, that's how they all knew each other. They all worked at Bethlehem Steel.
I think that is an interesting point to make. Also, like, I wasn't even sure what time period this took place in for quite a while. I was trying to figure out, I was like, does this take place in like the 90s or like the early 2000s maybe? Like, I couldn't place the time period because everything looked so dated. And then it made me realize, like, oh, it's because towns like this are sort of stuck in the past. Like, people still wear those like baggy bootcut jeans with the belt, the belts that are like two or three sizes too big, and they have like the shit hanging down, like the front part hanging down, like the braided belt. Like people still wear that stuff in those towns, and they still have like ancient computers running Windows XP, which, by the way, I know, like, anytime I see an accurate use of technology in films, I always feel like I need to shout it out, because it really bothers me when I see like really fake looking computer interfaces, and this one looked good.
I did like how he got around it though. Like the desktop icon just said internet.
Yeah.
And then when he was like on Facebook, it was FW. So I'm not sure if it was like Face Watch, maybe.
It said I think it was called Friend Watch.
Okay.
But I thought that they did a really good job of making it look accurate. And I always need to shout that out, because I always appreciate that, because it pulls me out of it whenever I see like really fake looking computer screens in movies. But yeah, overall, just a little bit of a meh for me, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was fine. You know, it's a decent flick.
Yeah.
I thought, I did think that Lombardi was pretty great as Keith. You know, since a lot of this, you know, I was a little bit disappointed where it kind of felt like false advertising with Belushi and Beats there, like not being in it at all. Especially Belushi's in there a little bit at the beginning, and I'm just like, man, he's really good in this.
Yeah.
And then he just disappears for like an hour and 15 minutes, and it's like, oh.
And I was really hoping that they were gonna maybe not focus, but touch more on the father-son dynamic there as well.
Yeah, because
they touch on it, but I felt like I kind of wanted them to go a little bit deeper into that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit surface level in the sense that Keith thinks that his dad hates him, and his dad obviously does not hate him.
Yeah. I don't even know why. I don't even know what makes him think that.
Yeah.
Like, he's not mean to his son or anything. He seems very supportive of his son.
Yeah. Yeah.
He seems like a pretty good dad. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It just kind of going back to where he does seem extremely childish. You know, like he overreacts big time to things where it's like your dad is not really harping on you that bad or needling you that bad. Like, give me a fucking break. Grow up.
Yeah. Oh, Keith. What
That was another thing. He hit a little bit close to home for
I was
small time strike too.
I was gonna ask about that. Like, I was gonna bring it up, but then I thought, nah, maybe I won't.
Well,
on the air.
My first thought is, how the fuck did he get house arrest? Like,
well, I think he was in prison first.
Yeah,
then he went.
True.
But I think he was in for a while because
he did get mixed up with the white supremacists. Yeah. That whole thing that he's trying to get out of.
It seemed like he was in, I think they said like 9 months or a year or something that he was in, or maybe that was the house arrest. He was on house arrest for a year. I don't know, but I feel like at one point somebody mentioned something about like not hearing from him for like 2 years or something.
Yeah, I think it was. He was on house arrest for a whole year. That's what his one neighbor said. But I don't know about the stint in prison.
I don't know. I feel like it was also a year or close to it. But dude's name's Keith. Has some trouble with the law. I don't know. I can see how that might touch close to home for you.
Yeah, it was a little, a lot of similarities there.
Any final thoughts on Solar's Point before we give this a score?
It is so bizarre because there's not a whole lot that I don't necessarily, dislike about the film. Like, I thought all the performances were great. I thought, like, visually and direction wise, it's fine. It did its job, serviceable. But at the end of the day, it's just not enough for me, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree with that statement. Like I said, I was absolutely loving it at the beginning. I was liking the aesthetic, the location, just the characters. I was really invested in it at the beginning, and then I slowly started falling off. But
Yeah.
either way, I think I'm going to give Solar's Point I'll give it a 6 out of 10.
I am right there with you. 6 out of 10.
This is
Dog
playing.
dog.
This is playing in limited release right now. This will be out on VOD next week. So next Friday, I believe it hits VOD. Oscilloscope is putting this out. So give it a look. Have you seen? I've never seen. This is my first Porterfield film. Which of his others have you seen?
I Used to Be Darker, which is really good. There's a short film that came out a couple years ago called Take What You Can Carry. That's pretty good. And I can't remember because it's been so long, if I've seen Putty Hill or not. Because I think Putty Hill was back in 2010. That was the movie that kind of put him on the map a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Did you also notice that Solar's Point was produced by Danny Glover?
I saw that. I didn't know if it was the Danny Glover.
It is the Danny Glover.
Interesting.
Pretty sure. I mean, I don't have anything to back that up. I'm just saying that it is.
Okay.
And Jeremy Saulnier was the cinematographer for Putty Hill. He used to be Porterfield's cinematographer.
Oh yeah, I think we did talk about that before. Yeah, I'll have
before
to.
he branched out on his own. Because I think he also used to work with Michael Tully.
Interesting. I just rewatched Green Room like last week, and that holds up. I know you weren't big on that one, but all right. So that's Solar's Point. Let's move on. Talk about someone watching on the watch list. I think I'll start off with Deadpool 2 since that was sort of the big release this weekend. Now, I was not huge on Deadpool 1. I liked it. I was like, oh, this is good. I like the concept of the sort of AAA superhero movie being R-rated. I don't know if there were any, certainly none of the big Marvel DC franchises, and certainly none that were this big that were R-rated. And then, since then we had Logan come out that was hugely successful at an R rating, and now we have Deadpool 2. And the funny thing is, at the beginning of Deadpool 2, they make fun of Logan. If you're familiar with Deadpool, the whole kind of the shtick is that he breaks the fourth wall a lot and puts a lot of kind of meta humor in his stuff, both in the comic books and in the movies as well. Deadpool 2, I thought I enjoyed it more than Deadpool 1, mostly because of the other characters that were involved. So we have another Zazie Beetz role as Domino, and she needs her own movie. I don't know. I read a rumor that they were talking about doing her own movie, and I don't know if that's true or not. I think that probably the next thing we'll see her in as that character is X-Force. I think they're going to make an X-Force movie, but she was incredible as Domino. I liked the Domino character in the comic books. Her superpower, she has perfect luck. So the way that they represented that in the movie was sort of like Final Destination, where there's these sort of Rube Goldberg-esque things that happen around her that always end up in her favor. Cable was the other character that I really enjoyed in this. Josh Brolin, his portrayal as Cable, where he's just this ultra serious guy, and he sort of plays the straight man to Deadpool's silliness. And I thought he did a really good job. Cable is another one of my favorite X-Men universe characters, and I thought that he was represented pretty well by Josh Brolin. I definitely want to see more of him too. The humor was really hit or miss for me, just like the first one. A lot of retreads, a lot of the same sort of jokes that happened in the first one, they come back to in this one. Sometimes that makes it more funny. Sometimes it makes me want to roll my eyes and be like, all right, we get it. I understand this is supposed to be funny. Like, eh. There's a lot of really funny cameos and just sort of throwaway gags in this one, a lot of visual gags and stuff that some of them were surprising, some of them really worked. And the post credits stingers, there's two of them, and the second one is really funny. And I really enjoyed what they did with that one. Overall, they sort of did everything that you would expect with the sequel in this. Everything was bigger. It seems like they had a bigger budget for this one. So they definitely had more characters. They had the action sequences were fantastic in this one. So I would give it a light recommend. If you really liked the first one, if you loved the first Deadpool, then definitely check this out. This one, it's not the same director. This one's directed by David Leitch, the guy who did John Wick and Atomic Blonde. So,
Okay.
if you're familiar with those movies, you have an idea of what the action is going to be like, and it's pretty well done. The action is pretty badass in this, actually. Lots of dismemberments and
Whoa.
crazy violent, but done really well, like shot really well and stuff. They even make fun of David Leitch in it, saying that he was one of the guys who killed the dog in John Wick. But yeah, it was just pretty enjoyable. I would give it a light recommend.
All right.
I feel like you need to see these movies at some point. You definitely need to see Deadpool 2, but to get a lot of the jokes, you sort of have to see the first one.
Okay.
And the dude from Hunt for the Wilder People's in it too. So
that's true. You did say that.
Ricky Baker.
I do. I want to see it just for that, really.
Yeah, he's pretty great in it.
I saw Roman J. Israel, Esquire.
All right.
Dan Gilroy.
All right.
Guy did Nightcrawler. I just remember a lot of people not liking this movie at all and just like pretty much outright hating it.
Yeah, I remember it did not do very well.
No. And so I was a little bit worried, but it's Denzel Washington, which I'll pretty much watch him in anything and enjoy myself. And what he's doing in this movie as Roman J. Israel Esquire is so unbelievably watchable. And I love it so much that I could literally watch him as Roman J. Israel in like 100 different movies. He could just do that character forever, and I would watch every single one. If this movie did not have Denzel Washington and someone else was playing that role, this movie would be terrible. So that gives you an idea of the importance of Denzel Washington in this movie, which is it's not terrible. Okay, I mean, I was kind of surprised that people hated it so much after seeing it, but it is a bit of a mess. It's kind of all over the place. Some things, there's developments that happen that it just seem kind of random and forced. Like Denzel Washington's character he's a partner at a firm where the guy that runs the firm is like the head. He's out in front. He's the one in court and everything. And Roman is just the guy like in the back room going through all the legal books and just doing the grunt work, to get him set up. He's the legal mind. He's kind of like this savant. He knows fucking everything. He has shit memorized. And he does everything old school with Post-it notes and stuff. So the guy that runs the firm, he dies. So Roman doesn't really know what the hell to do. So he ends up getting with Colin Farrell, who's this like big time lawyer. So he goes to this big time firm. And all of a sudden he kind of just realizes that what he's doing isn't really working out, and him trying to help out the poor and everything. So he just decides to say, fuck it. And he's just going to be materialistic. He gets nice suits. And like his whole demeanor completely changes, which just felt really like, just was a bit too forced. Like, it didn't make sense. Like, him as a person being this old and being this way for so long to just all of a sudden just change 100% and just become someone that doesn't give a shit. It was just, but him as an actor pulls it off because you're like, it's bullshit, but it's awesome. I love Denzel. He's doing it. So great. His character's all over the place. I love it. Just let him keep doing what he's doing.
Mm.
So if you're a fan of Denzel Washington, you have to watch it.
Yeah,
because he is great here.
I'll have to give it a look. I think he was nominated, wasn't he? He was nominated.
I think
for
so.
An Oscar.
Because you see like a lot of the characters that he's playing in this role, but at the same time they kind of flip it a little bit where he doesn't really have, he's kind of like overly nerdy and he doesn't have people skills and he doesn't quite have that confidence and everything. So it's interesting to see him play that instead of kind of the same character he always plays.
The Denzel swagger, the Training Day swagger that he acquired.
But he still has it a little bit, but it's tweaked to where he's like this savant where it kind of bubbles up now and then. It's really interesting.
I have to give it a look. It didn't look bad to me. It looked decent.
No, and that's the thing that kind of surprised me is like it's not terrible. I mean, it's not that great of a movie, but like Jesus.
Kind of how I felt about Nightcrawler, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Like I didn't really like Nightcrawler either, but like it's not awful.
Yeah. I think a lot of people liked Nightcrawler though, if memory serves.
Yeah, which is another thing that's odd to me because I think this movie is much better than Nightcrawler.
Interesting. All right. Speaking of messy movies, I saw a pretty messy movie, and that's Batman Ninja.
Batman Ninja?
Yeah, I gave this a look last night. So the concept of Batman Ninja is that Batman is fighting Gorilla Grodd, who, if you're not familiar, he's this giant intelligent ape in the DC universe. If you watch the show The Flash on the CW, that character's actually been featured in The Flash a couple times and really well represented on that show, actually. But Grodd creates this time machine thing, and it ends up transporting Grodd, Batman, and a bunch of pretty much every iconic Batman character back in time to feudal Japan. And they are in feudal Japan, and it turns out, so when Batman ends up there, it's 2 years after everyone else. So everyone else has been there for 2 years already, which is very convenient because it gives all the criminals enough time to set up their operations in Japan. So essentially each Batman villain gets they took over their own state, and they run it, and each of them has built their own moving house. So it's sort of like Hal's Moving Castle, but it's all Batman villains. So you have like the Penguin and Two-Face and the Joker, and then you have Grodd, and then there's some other characters that show up in there as well. Harley Quinn is obviously with Joker, and you have all of the sort of the Bat Clan in there as well. So you have like Robin and Nightwing and Red Robin and all of those characters. Catwoman's in there too. Basically everybody gets transported back to feudal Japan, including Alfred, by the way. Alfred gets transported back. And when Batman meets him for the first time, he's like, "How did you end up here?" He's like, "Oh, I was in the Batmobile." And the Batmobile got transported back too. And it's like, oh, this is so convenient how every major Batman character, nobody else got, like, not just some random Joe Schmo walking down the street. And if he did get transported back, then he's screwed because they are only concerned about sending themselves back to the future. So Batman finds out that the Joker sort of took over Japan. Like, he's on his way to become Shogun. He's going to take over the entire country, and they decided they got to take him out. They got to take all these guys out.
Yeah.
Basically, it just packs in every anime trope you can think of into this Batman story that is utterly ridiculous. And I don't know if it's necessarily taking itself seriously. Like, I think you could watch it and just have fun with it. But some of the stuff that happens, you're just like, oh my God. Like, they gave Catwoman giant boobs for some reason. And it just, all of these goofy, like, Robin looks so ridiculous in this. And he has this little monkey friend that he can talk to and that talks to him, but like only he can understand. So he's sort of like that one character in Speed Racer that has the monkey.
Mm-hmm.
And every anime trope, like giant mechs are in this.
Yes.
Utterly ridiculous action sequences that defy all logic and physics. It's just it's so silly and over the top. The art style is really impressive for the most part. I say for the most part because they sort of incorporate in this really interesting sort of watercolor aesthetic that sort of makes it look like an ancient, like, Japanese painting. And that's really impressive. And a lot of the animation is this, it sort of looks like this hand-drawn artistic style. I would compare it to the what's that one, there's a video game that came out, I think it was called Okami.
Yeah, I gotta say, looking at the stills of this, it looks gorgeous.
Yeah, I mean, you can take any single frame of this for the most part, and it just looks incredible. Like, I was really impressed with the animation, except some of the character animations are CG. They are sort of this cell shaded style of CG, and the movements look a little off to me. Like, they don't quite match the sort of the beautiful backgrounds and environments that they're in. But that's more of a nitpick than anything. It looks really impressive. So that's definitely a plus. The thing is, it gets more ridiculous as it goes on. Once you get the giant mechs involved, and there's a scene that occurs that's basically Voltron that happens, and you're just like, oh my God, it's so ridiculous.
It seems like you're not that into it, and oh man, I just saw the Voltron thing. This, it seems like you're not that into it, and it's like everything that you're saying should be shying me away from it, but it's only pulling me in closer.
Yeah, it's definitely
to the point where I'm like, I have to see this.
It's really over the top. It's really silly, but I can see how some people will enjoy that. And for the most part, I did enjoy it. It's just that the narrative is so messy. Like, everything just happens so conveniently. Like, just like I mentioned, the Alfred thing and the half-assed reasons that they give for having people here. And like, at one point they're like, okay, well, Grodd is really the main bad guy, but the Joker is so powerful that he can easily beat like anybody. So we need to come up with a way to get rid of Joker, at least temporarily. So the thing that they come up with is so stupid and dumb. Like, it doesn't really work. And then they like throw in random characters that show up for like one scene. Like, Bane comes in, and he's a sumo wrestler, of course, in this. And he's in there for one scene. They're like, why is Bane in this all of a sudden? And the script is just, it's all done for convenience. And it was like that the writers were just sitting at a table and they're like, okay, here's a list of all of the Batman characters we want to have in this. It's every Batman character pretty much. Let's just come up with the first thing we can to get them in this movie. Even if it doesn't make sense, even if they're in it for just one scene and then they're gone. It's it's just a messy movie. It would have worked better as a TV series. That way they would have been able to spend more time on explaining how some of these people got here and maybe delving a little bit deeper into their characters so we can spend a little bit more time with them. But overall, it was a meh. It was all right. There were certainly some fun things to be had. I mean, there's a giant Batman that is made out of bats. It's made out of bats. And then there's a giant monkey samurai that's made out of thousands and thousands of actual monkeys.
I saw that too. That's what I'm saying. Like, it sounds great.
Yeah.
Honestly. And it looks great.
The character designs.
I might have to watch it.
The character designs are awesome. Like the suits and the costumes and stuff that they created are really cool. Like they all sort of have their own, they still retain their own look, but there's this sort of Japanese vibe to each of their costumes.
It's just essentially people in a writer's room. Okay, so the Joker, but the Joker also as a samurai. And then they just did that with everybody, it looks like.
Yeah.
They just meld it with a samurai look.
Yeah, but there's different. It is, but they each have their own unique look that sort of harkens back to, the style of like the feudal Japan style. Like for instance, what's his name? Maybe it is Red Robin. No, not Red Robin. One of the other Batman characters, Red Hood, I think his name is. I can't remember. He has like that giant, like one of those masks, those like sort of wicker masks, like hat things that like goes over your whole head, but it's like it's red. And his look is really cool. I don't know. It's pretty interesting, but that's Batman Ninja. That's out now on various VOD platforms, and I think it's out on Blu-ray and stuff too.
I did a rewatch of a movie that I haven't seen in I guess since 2001. I think I saw it with you actually, and that's AI, Artificial Intelligence, Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
This is on Amazon Prime, popped up on there. Wife has never seen it. She wants to see it, so we watch it. And like I said, I don't really remember too much from it. Apparently I didn't like it. So I was interested to see how things would go second time around. And I will say this. For the most part, I enjoyed it. What happens is, and I completely forgot about this, is like the end where the aliens show up. That's when everything just got flushed down the toilet.
I remember
it becomes
that.
Absolute shit. Like it nullifies everything. It becomes such a piece of shit at that moment.
Yeah, I remember that. The alien.
And it's such a great like ending of him being trapped under the water because of the Ferris wheel and him just staring at the blue fairy and asking to make her, for her to turn him into a real boy. And then the instant that the narrator's voice come in, because for some reason we're just like, let's throw in a narrator now. And that happens, and I'm just like, oh, okay, this is why this movie sucks. Okay, this is awful. And then the aliens show up, and how they set everything up, and the one alien sits down with David, and he's talking to him, and it's just so bizarre that this alien, this being that apparently has mastered everything in the universe, is sitting with David and talking about how human beings are the greatest thing that ever existed. And they're so wonderful, and they're geniuses, and they're just and it's just like, why would an alien just be sitting here and just going into such great detail of how wonderful human beings are? Like, give me a fucking break. They're not that great. And I'm pretty sure the alien would know this.
Yeah.
So the bullshitting aliens at the end just fucking, give me a goddamn break.
I remember that ruined it for me too.
Oh God, it's so awful. And it was doing so well up until that point, because it is this like weird kind of mix of Pinocchio and The Wizard of Oz, and you had the science fiction side thrown in there, and it's really compelling. And then that end just feels so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Just fucking wrecked it, man.
I don't think I'll be revisiting that anytime soon.
No, and it sucked because like throughout the beginning and in the second half or in the middle act two where it gets with Jude Law and they're looking for the blue fairy and everything, I was just like, why did I hate this? This movie is really fucking great. Like, I am loving this. And then that narrator popped up and I was like, uh-oh. I think this might be why.
Here we go.
And then as I went on, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot all about this. I blocked this out of my memory.
Yeah. That's a long movie too.
Yeah.
I remember it being very long.
Yeah, and you feel it.
Yeah. The only other one I'll mention briefly is a movie called The Cleaners. This is one that premiered at Sundance. I think it premiered at Sundance. It's certainly screened at Sundance. I wanted to see it there, but I missed it. And I got to see it this week. It's a documentary about the sort of hidden industry of digital cleaning. So these are basically people, thousands of people that are hired by companies like Facebook and Google to scrub their sites of unwanted content. So they're called content moderators. So most of them work for third-party companies. So a company will be created that specializes in content moderation, and then a company like Facebook will contract this company to basically spend all day having people search through videos and pictures and decide if they are okay to put on the site or not. And it delves into how these companies work, and it also profiles several of the people that work for these companies. Now, these companies are super secretive. They are everybody that works there is required to sign all kinds of NDAs and stuff like that about who they're actually working for and how it all works. But the directors were able to interview several people that are either no longer with those companies or people that were like still with them but planning on leaving. So they were just like, fuck it, I don't care. And it's really fascinating. I mean, somebody who works in the tech industry and is really interested in how things work on the internet. It's just a really, really fascinating documentary because, people post awful things on these sites all the time, and it's these people's jobs to prevent regular people, us, from seeing these awful things. I mean, people post like child porn and, people getting beheaded on Facebook. And the reason we don't see it is because there's essentially an army of people in Manila who are filtering all of this stuff out by hand, like saying, nope, that is not okay to put up. That is not okay to show, that child pornography on Facebook. But it also gets into sort of the, the socio-political aspect of it. Like, some governments have laws against certain content, and how companies like Google and Facebook navigate those tricky waters where this might be okay to show in the United States, but it's not okay to show in like Turkey or something, a place that has a more restrictive government when it comes to certain things.
Yeah.
So it sort of gets into that aspect of it as well. But I would definitely recommend checking it out. This is going to be it's still playing the festival rounds. It's going to be at the Human Rights Watch Film Festival that's coming up here in New York next month. And I'm sure that it'll be out and available at some point this year.
That's an interesting doc.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, just as sort of a disclaimer, they do show several of the things that they're filtering, because like a big part of the documentary is them actually going to these centers, like these offices where they work, and showing them actually working, and they'll like interview them and they'll talk as they're working. And sometimes, doesn't happen a lot, but sometimes they will move the camera to the actual screen and show some of the pictures that they're looking at. And some of them are very graphic and very disturbing. So just a warning that there is some rough stuff that you do see in this movie. Some stuff that you probably won't be able to unsee.
Yeah.
They don't do any like the child pornography or anything like that. It's more of like the more violent things that are perpetrated by ISIS and things like that. And then they also, one of the other things that they do is they talk to several organizations that are trying to sort of put out these photos that did get wiped. There's certain things. I mean, it's a gray area. You look at like child porn, and that there is no gray area there. Like that should not exist on the internet, right?
Yeah.
But then there's certain things like pictures of the aftermath of a coup, or something, a natural disaster that occurred in a third world country that may need our help. You see images of war, for instance, bombings, stuff like that. And one can argue that these are images that should be seen by the public. These are things that we should be aware of so that we can take steps in preventing this from happening or stopping this from happening. But these images are getting scrubbed too. And I think so it brings up this really interesting debate on what should we see, what should we be shielded from, and this whole thing. And then so they get into there's certain organizations that are trying to get these images and this information out, even though it's being scrubbed all the time. So yeah, really fascinating. I would definitely recommend checking it out when it comes out again. It's called The Cleaners.
Okay. Yeah. That's all I'm done.
Yeah, me too.
That's all I got.
Me too. Let's get into some releases. This week in theaters, we got a biggie, Solo, a Star Wars story.
Oh, okay.
Got a Han Solo movie.
Watch out.
Pretty excited for this one. For some reason, like with all the new Star Wars movies, I've been far less excited than in previous years. I don't know why, because I always end up enjoying them. But this is the one with I'm more so than anything, I'm excited to see Donald Glover as Lando.
Yeah.
And I heard that there's rumblings of a standalone Lando Calrissian movie, which pretty into that idea.
I think at this point, you're making so much money off of these things that they're probably just going to do standalones for everybody. Why not? Just keep making them.
Yeah.
People are going to keep seeing them. You're going to keep making the money. Everybody gets one.
I hope that means that they'll be taking some more risks. Like I feel like the Marvel movies, they while they are, yes, they do somewhat stick to a formula. I feel like some of them take more risks, like Doctor Strange. and I hope that they do the same thing with the Star Wars movies. Like if there is a Lando movie, I hope that they don't make it just your standard Star Wars style movie. I want it to be something different, different genre within that Star Wars universe.
I don't think it's going to be. I don't think you're going to get that.
Probably not.
But you keep hoping.
I will. Hey, I heard
keep that hope in your heart.
The Captain Marvel movie that's coming out is going to be set in the 90s, which I like. I like that idea. All right. What else? What else do we have here? How to talk to girls at parties. This one did not get very good reviews, but I was interested in this one. This was on my most anticipated list, I think 2 years ago. It's the one based on the Neil Gaiman story.
Yeah.
Directed by John Cameron Mitchell. Aliens. Set in 1977 London. Punk rock scene. I'm still going to check this out at some point. It looks quirky.
Oh, you got to get that quirk. Loving that quirk.
Yeah, buddy. We have Mary Shelley coming out, biopic about the famed author, Mary Shelley.
That's it. Elle Fanning doing back-to-back, getting two.
Yeah, that's a double fanning action. How to Talk to Girls at Parties and Mary Shelley.
It's going to fucking dominate theaters.
Yeah. Got Future World. This is it's directed by James Franco.
Oh, get the fuck out of here. Stupid ass title.
Future World.
What a fucking stupid title. Stupid director. Look at his stupid face on that poster too. What a dipshit.
I think he plays a bad guy in this. I think he plays a villain. Suki Waterhouse is in it.
You guy's such a shit. Just a pile of shit.
This movie looks incredibly bad. I'm really not sure.
Oh my god, it looks all. I'm seeing some stills here, and nope.
It's a Mad Max ripoff from the looks of it.
Yeah,
probably avoid that one. All right, let's see what else we have here. In Darkness, it's a thriller. We got The Gospel According to Andre. That's a documentary. We got Who We Are Now, and we've got Feral. That's a horror film.
Not too much.
No, not too much.
It's usually like 28 titles.
Yeah, people moved out of the way for Solo.
All those straight to the VOD are banking on, if we just wait out a week or two, we'll do much better. You're going to do exactly the same, guys. Sorry.
Very, very possible. That is very possible. Speaking of VOD, let's take a look. It's on Tuesday. We have Soft Matter, it's a horror movie, and Troll Inc. I think that's a documentary about a troll, an internet troll. Then on Friday we have Feral. That's the horror movie I mentioned. Got a Netflix movie called Ibiza, Future World, and it looks like that's pretty much it for VOD.
I think that's the worst title of the year. Future World.
What was that? Tomorrowland. Tomorrowland.
Oh yeah,
it's the Disney one. So we got Future World and Tomorrowland.
I just accompanying that title, I'm just imagining James Franco, like calling someone up or in a room getting super excited, and he's just like, Future World. That's what we're going to call it. And he's just super amped about it. And everyone else just like,
Sure, James. Why not?
I guess. James Franco.
Blu-ray this week. Got Red Sparrow. It's the action thriller with Jennifer Lawrence. Got Game Night, comedy.
I actually want to see that. I got relatively good reviews.
Yeah, I heard it was good. I heard it was pretty funny, so I might give that a look as well. We got I Killed Giants. It's the fantasy movie. Didn't look great to me.
No.
Twilight Time is putting out a Blu-ray version of Birth of a Nation, the 1915 classic. Now, this is a limited edition print, 3,000. So if you want to get on that Birth of a Nation Blu-ray, I'd jump on that quick because, you know, they're going to go like hotcakes.
They probably will. For some reason, people are D.W. Griffith. Just fucking love him.
I've never seen Birth of a Nation. I really...
I'm never going to. I mean, I there was one of those things that when I was, you know, going through the history of cinema, I was like, I need to watch this. And then it was like 3 hours and 15 minutes. And, you know, Ku Klux Klan and how great they are. It's just like, you know what?
I'll skip it.
I don't need to.
Just skip that one.
Good.
I understand it for its place in the history of cinema, but
Yeah.
I also feel like I've seen enough clips from it and heard enough about it that I just don't feel like I need to sit and watch it.
Yeah, and it's also one of those things where it's like enough people have watched it and discussed it and, you know, incorporated into their own reading in the history of cinema that, you know, you could talk about something else. There is plenty of movies in 1915 that you can talk about that are not The Birth of a Nation.
Yeah. Wonderstruck coming out?
Like Wonderstruck. You talk about Wonderstruck instead.
Yeah. Perfect. On the Beach at Night Alone.
Oh man, that's a good movie right there. I enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
I don't typically like his movies either. That was the first one that actually connected with me.
Very nice. Black Venus coming out. I believe that's an Arrow release from 2010. Not
2010?
Yeah. It's a newer release from Arrow. Not too familiar with that. Tremors Attack Pack coming out. Has four movies in it, which I don't understand because I'm pretty sure there's at least 5 Tremors movies. But I'm also looking on Blu-ray.com here, and it's funny because it says all 4 movies: Tremors, Tremors 2 Aftershocks, Tremors 3 Back to Perfection, Tremors 4 The Legend Begins, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
What?
So apparently Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom is also included in this. Oh,
Is that part of the Tremors universe?
Yeah, maybe.
Did we not know about that? That would be fantastic if, like, the newest Jurassic film, it's Tremors just show up halfway through.
Oh man, I would.
Could you fucking imagine?
I would love it. That'd be so amazing.
Would lose my shit if there was like a T-Rex walking or a Velociraptor or some shit, and Chris Pratt's about to die. Is Chris Pratt in those movies?
Yeah.
Can't remember which Chris.
He is.
Yeah, Chris Pratt. He's about to die, and this tremor just comes up out of nowhere and just fucking eats the Velociraptor.
That would be so
snatches
amazing.
It. And Chris Pratt's just like, what the fuck? No one told me about Tremors. And then Kevin Bacon shows up, and he's like, oh, by the way, Tremors. And then it's greatness from there on.
That sounds amazing. I think that this came out before, because I had a Tremors pack before, and it had all 4 movies. So I would say, I think there's 6 Tremors movies. So I would say you can probably skip this one, because there's 2 other ones. There's the ones with Jamie Kennedy that came out. There's one that just came out like a couple weeks ago, and then there's one that came out like a year ago. So this is missing two of them. And
that's another.
And I'm looking here, it says Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, and then it says Fandango Cash. So I'm guessing that if you buy this, it contains some sort of like coupon code to go see Jurassic World.
Yeah.
And speaking of the Jurassic Park movies, there's a 4K collection that's coming out that has all of them except for the newest one from the looks of it.
What is that, like a Steelbook Diamond Edition?
No,
Okay.
it's so it's got a digibook 25th anniversary
Hell yeah.
edition, limited edition,
Love my digibooks.
and then it also has the Fandango cache for Fallen Kingdom
Alright.
as well, and it's all 4 Jurassic Park movies, up to the newest.
Yeah.
I don't know why, they just do this every time a big franchise movie comes out. They release a box set of all the other ones, and it's like, why would I buy that when I know that it's not complete?
Yeah.
Like that irritates me. The fact that I have the Alien Anthology Blu-ray, which is like an absolutely fantastic Blu-ray set, but it doesn't include Covenant because it came out before that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of bothers me a little bit. just a little bit.
Just fucking throw it in the trash. I mean, what good is it? Throw it in the trash.
Smash it. Just break it up.
Throw it out your window on the streets of New York. Just fucking whip it out there.
No, it's not go crazy. What do we have on Criterion this week?
Oh, we have 3. A triple bill.
Man, triple.
Paul Schrader.
Criterion triple threat.
Yeah, watch out. You got Paul Schrader. I guess to go along with his newest movie coming out, First Reformed, you can get Mishima, A Life in 4 Chapters. So you can do that. You got that. That's an option. And then you also have 2 Romanian New Wave movies. That's Beyond the Hills and Graduation.
Nice.
Romanian New Wave.
Very nice.
Get it while it's hot.
Very nice. All right, I think that will do it for this week. Thank you so much for listening. You can send us your questions and topics to feedback@filmpulse.net. You can follow us on Twitter @filmpulsenet and @filmpulsekevin. And if you have a minute, take a look at our Patreon page, patreon.com/filmpulse. Consider helping us out by becoming a subscriber. For Kevin Rakestraw, my name is Adam Patterson. We'll see you next week.